Oh, break those moves. Oh, yeah. Oh, show him.
Hey, stop it with that shit. You cannot heal just with dance moves.
What do you mean you cannot heal with just dance moves?
I want more, motherfucker.
You want talent, gear, rotation, and a lot more things for raiding and Mythic Plus dungeons? Well, if you want to pick Mistweaver up right now and rock some dungeons and raids, then stay tuned because we're starting off with the talents. The talents differ a bit between raids and dungeons. There's also a way to spec more into damage, which isn't as efficient as it once was, so I will not talk about it. You'll get a so-called main build, but I will let you know what you need to swap when doing Mythic Plus, so let's hit it. On the first row, Chi Burst is the go-to. It deals damage, costs no mana, and heals for a decent amount as long as you hit your allies with it. Everything you want in a raid skill, since raids work off of efficient healing. For dungeons you get Mist Wrap, since your strongest heal will be enveloping mists and making it real swole in tough situations, which there will be plenty of. Second row is the utility row, meaning you can pick whatever you want as long as you know it's the best thing your group needs, raids or dungeons alike. You should start with Tiger's Lust, however, since it works similar to Blessing of Freedom, but adds a speed boost to it, essentially saving allies from tough shit. Third row, all options are viable, like mentioned earlier. Mana Tea is the best for raiding and overall a universal good pick. It has the same concept as the Druid Innervate, where in the short mana reduction window, you want to pump out as many heals as possible. If you are confident in your group, however, when running dungeons, you can consider life cycles instead. It's not always the best to rotate enveloping mists and vivifies, which makes this talent something to really think about, and not what I would recommend off the bat. Fourth row, the reason you exist, Ring of Peace. Well, yeah, you have to heal as well, but this baby is a major asset to your group and has a whole bunch of uses. Any situations where you would want an enemy to not be in place A for whatever reason, put this ring in place A, because no two objects with the same density can occupy the same space at the same time. The ring will solve your problem, right, Grandpa? Next up is a defensive row. As a default for both types of content, I recommend Diffuse Magic, since ideally you will more often than not take magic damage, but keep in mind that all options are viable, and if you're actually finding yourself in a situation where the physical damage intake is huge, Dampen Harm will be better. Level 90 has another universal talent that works in all situations, which I can recommend, that being the Jade Statue. The mechanics of this are nice, makes your life easier, and provides more reach to your heals since you can keep the statue on one player and heal another. Or use it for some intense single target healing. Refreshing Jade Wind mostly works in raids with tight groups of people, while Chi offers you a decent AoE healing cooldown at the sacrifice of more sustained healing throughout the dungeon. Last row, when raiding, take Upwelling. If you ever checked your monk's healer's abilities and what healed the most, you won't be surprised to see Essence Font at the top. This bad boy makes Essence Font even stronger. In dungeons, however, you will go with Focused Thunder, and here's why. Essence Font is the only baseline AoE heal you have, and it's not very efficient in dungeons. As such, the other way to heal is by spreading Renewing Mist and cleaving Vivify heals on your party. This talent lets you spread more Renewing Mists, meaning you will be more likely to heal all your party with one Vivify. When it comes to stats, there are two priorities when doing each type of PvE content. With this in mind, you also need to realize that healers cannot sim their stats, and Mistweavers in particular have secondary stats fairly close to each other, so there is no universal bad stat. For raids, you take Intellect, meaning eye level, above all else. Follow this up with Critical Strike, then Versatility, then Mastery, and lastly, Haste. For dungeons, Intellect at the top. Mastery comes second, though with Haste and Versatility and Crit close together. When gearing up further, you should look at the overall amount of raw stat you have on your character sheet. If, say, mastery is double that of your versatility, you might want to lean more towards the latter. Remember, balance in all things. Not in watching our YouTube videos, of course. Of course. So, I was researching the meta and what trinkets are currently best in slot for Mistweaver at the high end. And every single trinket in the game and their mother are basically being used, meaning that just pick whatever you have and you're good. Of course, if you can choose the better stat for you based on your stat priority, then it's even better. 3 trinkets, however, are seeing more play than all the others. One of them is the Alchemist Stone, which you can only make from alchemy yourself, no one else. You can't buy it. Professions suck, okay? This is good for both raids and dungeons. Conch of the Dark Whispers seem to prefer raid usage because crit is our best secondary in raids, and you can find this in the Shrine of the Storm dungeon because in BFA, to get gear for raids, you do dungeons. And Ward of Envelopment is seeing more play in dungeons, and you guessed it, it drops in the Zara lore raid from the first boss. Life is beautiful when it's not a pain in the butt. Now let's talk Azerite traits. For raiding you want Font of Life, and this shouldn't be a surprise since we talked about how Essence Font is our best raid healing spell. The fact that it buffs our Thunder Focus Tea to reduce its cooldown is well good, considering we take up Welling in raids and not the Focus Thunder talent. And as you guessed it, only the healing component will stack for this, so ideally take only one of them if you have better options. The better options are Secret Infusion and Uplifted Spirits, which coincidentally are the best traits for dungeons as well. Secret Infusion works really well if you can target the buffs for more efficiency. This kind of playstyle is a bit more advanced, so mastering the knowledge of your stats and how each improves your next spell or ability will put you ahead of your other Mistweavers. Uplifted Spirits has 2 major effects you need to keep in mind. One of which is that by spamming Vivifies, you'll reduce the cooldown of Revival, which is a strong cooldown on its own. This might be something you actually will aim for in certain situations. The other major effect is that the bonus heal it gives to Vivify will apply also to the duplicates you get on people with Renewing Mist on them. Lastly, Misty Peaks is a very strong stat giver that might work wonders if you have lower haste levels or are simply undergeared. For secondary traits, take the stack giving ones like On My Way, or strong defense ones like Resounding Protection, and you should be good to go. You don't have an actual rotation on healers, but more of an understanding of when to use your spells. Since mana preservation is important, you don't want to just spam heals willy-nilly. When in raids, save a charge of Renewing Mist for phases where damage is dealt in an AoE fashion. Use Essence Font for its full cast when there's raid-wide damage mechanics. You don't need to keep it on cooldown, but make sure it's your first go-to spell when AoE damage happens. When Essence Font is on cooldown or you don't have 6 people to heal, Vivify is the go-to with the extra charge of Renewing Mist I mentioned you keep earlier. Lastly, if only the tank or any one target is taking major damage, use Soothing Mist with Enveloping Mist added to the mix to top that person off. Thunder Focus Tea should be used with Renewing Mists by default, but if you have to spam heals and are concerned about the mana, use Vivify as well. You should use Soothing Mist on a target only to 1. Proc the Jade Statue heal, for which you don't have to channel the full heal, 2. Cast an instant Enveloping Mist, or 3. If you plan on casting at least 2 Vivifies on the target. In any other situation, it's best to just target swap Vivifies and not cast Soothing Mist. In dungeons, you will use Renewing Mist on cooldown as much as possible with a focus on people taking damage, and use Thunder Focus Tea ideally only with Renewing Mist. Vivify as a filler and as your main heal will be used every other situation. If you have to move or just need a little bit more AoE healing, cast Essence Font, but only to apply the heal over time effect, meaning your group needs to be hit by only 1 bolt, not the full cast. Although this is important in raids as well, the Jade Statue should always be healing a target, and keep in mind the same rule for Soothing Mist that I've mentioned earlier. The main cooldowns fall to your discretion since you will use them reactively to each situation. For consumables, keep in mind your stat priority when choosing them. Enchant your rings and gem your gear with crit when raiding or mastery when doing dungeons. The weapon retains the same logic, deadly navigation for raids or masterful navigation for dungeons. For food, it's simpler. Feasts or blood sausages will be the best because intellect trumps all, not to mention the raw amount of intellect is higher in these than the normal stat food. But if not, crit or mastery food will still do just fine. Lastly, if you want some pot, then take Flask of Endless Fathoms and Battle Potion of Intellect for intense healing phases. To keep your mana levels up, have Coastal Mana Potions and Potions of Replenishment on you at all times. The guide focuses on the basics and quick ease of access, but there is much more to Mistweavers if you decide you want to dive in deeper. If you want a more in-depth look at the spec, leave a comment down below and let us know, or visit peakofserenity.com where you will find a crap ton of cool stuff. Also, a major shout out to the people there for their amazing research and theory crafting that went into making this guide as well. 8.2 is just around the corner, and once it hits, all of our guides will have essences sections as well. But until then, you gotta go right now and check our Essence guide so you can brush up on all the new things about to come. Major thanks to our growing team of Patreons. We love and appreciate all of your support, and if you want to become a patron as well, there are details down below in the description. Summer is here and you need all new swag, and Marcelian&Online has that covered for you. Check our official Teespring link and deck yourself in t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and maybe a cool mug for that morning coffee. Coffee. Thanks for watching the video and being awesome, and have a wonderful week.